First, let's set up our page size. Go to Setup at the top of the page, then Drawing, and Layout. We are going to change the first option from standard size to user-defined. Set the material size to 600 by 400 mm. This is the largest size of material that we can fit in our laser cutter. Then set the design guide to the same measurements. Once that's done, click OK. The dots you can see on the canvas are referred to as the grid. The grid helps us to draw accurately. We are going to be using 3 mm thick material, so let's set our grid to 3 mm. Double-click the icon on the right with the dots. Change the grid spacing options to 3 mm and then click OK. It may look like your grid dots are really close together or have disappeared at first. Don't panic, you just need to zoom in to see them. Use the magnifying glass icon with the plus in it on the right to zoom in, and use the scroll bars to move around. We're also going to click on the grid lock tool on the right-hand side as well. This will automatically snap our cursor onto the grid dots, meaning we can draw with absolute accuracy. Now, we're ready to start drawing the base of our playing card box. To draw this, we'll use the Shapes tool, which is on the left-hand side of the screen. Click on the Shapes tool and navigate to an empty area of the canvas. Click to start drawing a rectangle, and move your cursor outwards. As you move your cursor, pay attention to the box on the lower left side of your screen that says, Rel. This tells you the current size of the shape you are drawing, and updates as you move your cursor. If one value has a minus in front of it, don't worry. It doesn't mean anything that's particularly important to know right now. We're going to make our base 93 by 66 mm. Once the rel values are at these sizes, click again to place the rectangle. Let's start to add some finger joints. The important thing to remember when drawing our joints is that they should only go in, or out, by one grid spacing. We're going to add 2 outward joints to each side of our base. Starting on the top, I'm going to make my joints 33 mm wide, starting 2 grid spaces, or 6 mm, from the corner of the rectangle. Once we've done the joints at the top, we'll do exactly the same on the bottom of the rectangle. We need to make sure that our joints top and bottom line up exactly. If I draw some guidelines here, you can see that the joints at the top and bottom start and finish at the same point. Let's get rid of those guidelines and the extra lines that we've created by drawing our joints. The default delete tool is the del any tool on the left-hand side, which will delete the whole shape you've just drawn. We want to just delete a section. To do this, click and hold on the del any tool and select delete part of an object between the nearest 2 intersections. You'll need to click twice on the line you want to delete on the bottom of the joint. This is because there are multiple lines overlapping. Now I'm going to do the same process to draw some joins on the sides of my base. As this is a shorter edge, I am going to make these joints 24 mm high. Make sure you leave at least a 6 mm gap between your 2 joints. Any smaller and you will risk that piece of material becoming weak and snapping off. Delete the extra lines like we did before. And that's our base all finished. Now we need to draw the sides of our playing card box. We'll start with one of the long edges. Start by using the Shapes tool to draw a rectangle above your base that is the same width as our base, 96 mm, and 36 mm high. We're going to add the joints at the bottom first, and these should line up exactly with the joints on the base below. Instead of drawing our joints going outwards from the rectangle we drew, as we did when we drew the joints on the base, these ones are going to go inwards. Edges that are going to join together will always have one set of joints that goes inwards, and one that goes outwards, like 2 pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. To finish this side, we need to add joints to either side now. These joints are going to go outwards from our rectangle shape, and I am going to leave a 6 mm gap at the top, and in between the 2 joints. Both my joints are 9 mm high. Make sure that your joints on either side line up. This will make drawing the other sides much easier. Now I'm going to move on to draw one of the shorter sides of my box. Using the Shapes tool, I'll start with a rectangle, this time measuring 36 by 66 millimeters. To make it easy to check if my joints line up, I have drawn this side as if it has been rotated 90 degrees. I will add in the joints on the bottom of the side exactly the same as I did with my first side. When it comes to adding the joints on either side of this side piece, I just need to remember the spacing rules that I used for the first side. I left a 6mm gap at the top, and a 6mm gap in between the joints. As the joints that this side will connect to are outwards joints, these ones will need to be inwards ones. Here, you can see me using my cursor to check that my joints line up by following the line of dots from top to bottom. The good news is that once we had drawn a long side and a short side, we can just copy and paste these sides rather than drawing them from scratch again. To copy a drawn object, we first need to select all of the lines in that drawing. To do this, using the Select tool, click and, holding down with your mouse, drag outwards. This will create a pink box. Once you let go with your mouse clicker, everything in that box will be selected. To copy your selected object, use the keyboard shortcut Ctrl and C. The Control button is the one that has the letters C, T, R, L on it. To paste that selection, use the shortcut Ctrl and V. Click on the yellow box in the middle of the selected drawing to move the selection out of the way, clicking again to place it back down on the canvas. We will copy and paste the longer side that we drew, and place it next to the original side. Before we copy the shorter side, there is still one thing we need to add. Zoom in on the shorter side as the next step is a bit fiddly. We need to add the hinge mechanism to this side, so that our lid can open and close. To do this, we are firstly going to draw a 3 by 3 mm box on the end of our rectangle. This will act as a guide. Next, I am going to double-click on the grid tool on the right, and change the step spacing to 0.5 mm. We are going to be switching off the grid lock tool in a moment, but we still want to be moving and placing objects in sensible increments, rather than doing it by eye. Once you have changed the step spacing, click OK, and then click on the step lock tool next to the grid lock tool. Now we are going to create some circles to form the hinge. To quickly create circles that are a specific size, we can use the circle with a given center and radius tool, accessed by clicking and holding on the Circles tool on the left. In the Circle setting box, change the radius to 2 mm and click OK. Using the step lock, we should be able to place this circle directly over the 3 mm guide square that we drew earlier. Click to place the circle in place. We'll need to place a larger circle over the top of the one we just drew. In order to change the radius of the circle we want to place, we need to reset the tool. To do this, click on the Select tool and then back on the circle with a given center and radius tool. This will bring up the Circle settings box. The next circle we want to draw has a radius of 4.5 mm. We'll place this circle over the top of the one we already placed. To clean up our hinge, we'll delete the extra lines so that our circles and side are one shape. Now that the side is finished, we will copy and paste like we did with the longer side. This time, we will also flip the copied side so that we can check that the joints line up. To flip a selected shape, click on the 2 yellow arrows above the selection. Once you have done this, move the shape to the other side of the base. We have 4 sides and a base, so the only thing we need now is a lid. This part is very easy. Remember to first select Grid Lock again and then, using the Shapes tool, draw a rectangle that is 99 by 72 mm big. Three mm from the top of each side, we are going to draw a 3 by 3 mm square, and then delete the outermost edge, leaving a notch in the lid. This is where the circular hinges will attach. Now that the structure of the box is complete, we can add some personalization. You can import images and trace them in the program by selecting bitmaps at the top of the screen, and import bitmap. Choose an image saved to your computer and click Open. You can leave all of the options as they are, and click OK again. Once your picture has imported, you may need to resize it to make it bigger or smaller. To resize the image, use the yellow squares in the corners, and along the sides. In order to laser cut or engrave this image, we need to trace it first. To do this, go to Bitmaps at the top of the page and select Contour Bitmap. We are going to set the contour spacing to 0 and then click OK. The more detailed the image, the longer the contouring can take. Black and white, or line art images work best. If an image is too detailed, it won't contour well. The contour will appear on top of the original. Once you have separated the two, you can delete the original image. We can also add text to our design. To do this, click on the Text tool on the left. Select where you want the text to appear and enter the words you would like on your design. You can click the Settings option to change the font and style. I have decided that I would like the text to be engraved, rather than cut all the way through. The way that the laser cutter detects whether a line is cut or engraved is through color. Our laser cutter recognizes black lines as being cut, and red lines as being engraved. To change the color, we'll first need to remove the color that is filling the text. To do this, select the text and select Fill at the top of the screen. Choose No Fill and click OK. Next, we'll select the button next to the line button at the top that says Call. We'll change the line color to red to engrave our text. Remember to save your work regularly. To do this, select File at the top of the screen and select Save As. Give your work a sensible name and click Save.